Oh, you couldn't hear me. Oh my god. Okay, let me start that over then. Wow. Okay. Okay. So I just talked for 3 minutes and it didn't pick it up because the audio. I should have looked at the bottom and seen that the green was not showing. So I have to start over. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. That was kind of rough. Okay. Welcome. PXLTV8. We're doing it live, right? The song that just played is Vista. It's track 2 from the PXL Plus version of my new album, PXL, which just released. What I was saying is, welcome to the PXL listening party. Okay, let me lower the volume. Welcome to the PXL listening party. I'm broadcasting from the family office, the same room where I first had access to it. Back then, it was a black IBM desktop, AOL kids, flash action, games, and things like skateboarding and ATV. Okay? I got one of my first ever owners watching the Crimea River music video, sitting right here. Um, Looking over my shoulder, hoping I wouldn't get caught watching the My Humps music video. All that happened in this video. Okay? This is also the scene when I got pissed off and started crying doing my homework in elementary and middle school while listening to Radio Disney because my mom said if I didn't do my homework, I couldn't do shit. Shout out to her for making sure that I got my shit done. This room is also full of my dad's music collection. Kind of it. Whitney Houston, many of those CDs live right here in a CD somewhere. Where the collection is. It's also where I reflected to write a letter to my mom that revealed in the late 2000s, 2009 actually, in October, of 2009, it revealed to my mom that I was queer. I came out to my mom in a letter that I wrote in this very here room. I was listening to Fame Monster while I did it. Shout out to my mom for taking me to Walmart to buy the Fame Monster, which, as far as I'm concerned, is clear white, and it's her advocacy for clear white. I explored songwriting in this. I wrote about 1,000 shitty songs in this very room. I mixed and mastered my very own debut single in this room. Put it out in 2011 as a 14-year-old on iTunes and everything. Got a few sales. Got a few sales. It wasn't worth the shit. I was 14. I didn't know how to compose a song. I didn't consult with anybody. But the point was, I was putting out my effort for the first time. And that happened in this very dear room. All of that, the music, the game, the frustration, the awkwardness, the reflection, the experimentation, and the discovery. It happened right here. That early exposure to technology, sound, and self expression eventually gave me the confidence to experiment and create PXL, which is what you're hearing today. It's coming full circle. This is York. This is track 4 on PXL Plus. So this album is talking about the end of my last relationship. I was in a 7-year relationship with my ex partner, who shall go unnamed. We went through a lot of ups and downs together. I saw my darkest sides with him. I saw my lightest sides with him. I saw my truest potential with him. I saw my worst potential with him. We did a lot of growing together. We did a lot of coming apart together too. The process of coming uncoupled began in 2012, or sorry, 2022. Why did I say 2020? 2022. That's when I started making the EP Flux. Sorry, just getting my shirt right. I made the EP Flux in 2022, going into 2023. I released it in November 2023. That's what we're listening to right now. The sound of this EP is uncoupling. It's the chaos and the discordance of knowing that something is in your relationship. You don't know how to end it, if you should end it. York is a song that I made just to close on the synopsis, y'all. That's what this album is talking about. Flux, when I released it in 2023, is about the chaos of the beginning of the end of the relationship. Okay. Gemini is about welcome viewer. Gemini is about um, reflection, and it's about reflecting while in the middle of something that's coming undone. And then PXL is the final part, which talks about me regrouping and reintegrating my identity after the chaos and the reflection of the end of the relationship. PXL is the relationship of the final day. I was soundtracking my experience as the relationship was ending, as some of the darker elements of the relationship became too hard to ignore. So Flux, released in 2023, which this song York is from, with me reflecting. York is inspired by New York City. I visited New York City in 2009. Thank you to my parents for allowing that to happen. I visited New York City, and it inspired me to be an artist, actually. It was in March and April of 2009. And when I made this song, York, in 2019, 2020, I was inspired by that time. It was the beginning stages of my relationship. I think the song York has a little bit of discordance to it and a little bit of dissonance to it. It's sweet, it's reflective, but something's off. Because even in the early days of the relationship, like I said, was 7 years. And so it started in 2018 and ended in 2025. So I made York towards the end of the relationship. And I knew that something was off, but I was still trying to find it out. Room is the first single of Flow. It was my first show to the world after a hiatus in 2022. What you may notice about this song, outside of the mastering, the great mastering by Dan Mooney, those little micro glitches. Yeah. One thing that I note about Bloom Remastered is that it captures the sound of something. It has these little glitches. It's mostly beautiful. It's mostly ambient, but it has this insistent beat underneath it. But some of the drum elements they start, in a metric way. They start ticking. It's very rhythmic, yes, but it's off. It doesn't match the consonant and the beauty of the melody. The beat starts and the beat stops. That melody continues. That hope it continues. But those grounding elements of the relationship that are pulling you apart from your partner, that are uncoupling you, they won't stop. They're insistent, just like that beat. The stuttering hi hat doesn't feel muted, but stuttering hi hat. Yeah. That's why I have to come back with this song. I I've been gone for too long. It was time to bring it back. I've even written lyrics to this song, actually. You might hear it on my debut album. I plan to release my debut vocal album in 2027. So this is a preview to one of the instrumentals on that album. You're hearing that here first, y'all. Now we're transitioning into punk. Now we're getting into the Gemini track. Gemini is my second EP from this PXL era. Flux was the first piece of the era. Now Monk, like I said, Gemini as a whole, the second EP from this PXL trilogy, if you will. Um, Gemini was created in a space where the relationship continued to devolve. But at this point, I think we both had realized that we needed to end the relationship and that we weren't best in a relationship, but we both just felt stuck. You know, sometimes in the apartment, I would feel like a monk. This song is called Monk, by the way. When you're in your own apartment, when you're in your own living circumstances with your partner, with your loved one, with your significant other, and nothing feels right, you find yourself staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning just to get to the room. You start feeling like a monk. In the life a little bit. Master God. It's like I'm back in the apartment right now. You know, in Gemini in 2024, I was estranged from my parents about a year ago. I released this homeless. And I woke up on November 1st to release Gemini in 2024. I was living in Motel 6. When I released this and tried to promote it, I had to promote it. No budget. Literally, no money for a Motel 6 that night. Living in my car. Out of this, out of that, came this. This is my remix of 7 a.m. Tell y'all a little bit about this song. Let me tell y'all a little something about this one right here. This one right here, let me just explain something to y'all. Let me just turn the volume down. Explain something to y'all real quick. I hate to do this. I hate to stop on the playback. I hate to stop on the playback. Y'all, thank you for all my viewers. I hate to stop on the play. This one right here, my brother. My brother's Oxcab. Thank you. In the final days of our relationship, my ex and I, we went to Lake Tahoe. It was like our final trip together. We went to Lake Tahoe. It was in late spring of last year. I spent most of it by myself. We spent most of it by ourselves. I made this song on that vacation. That vacation. It was one of the worst vacations I've ever been on because we didn't get along together. We were trying to force it to work. So I went in the bathroom. So I didn't know we didn't know how to talk about it. It was so far gone. We didn't know how to talk about it. This EP, Gemini, is so much about what could have been if we were different people. If we had developed, if we had come together, right? What if, oh, what if, what if? I'm sorry. It's heavy, so I'm doing. Shout out to Starbucks for this cup. Welcome. We have a new viewer. Right now, I'm just playing back 7 a.m. Nctrnm remix, which is my remix of Oxcat. I was talking about how when I released Gemini, I was about a year. It was about a year ago, and I was homeless. You know, so this whole EP has this depth to it, this heaviness to it. That's just a lot. I threw some joints on Gemini though. Gemini is as dark. I think is as dark as it gets. Really, I wanted to make sure Flux and PXL, the bookends of the era, were like lighter and not as depressive. Because I'm not a woe is me kind of person. Oh shit, I'm early. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, this is y'all. POV. POV, you're in the audience. I'm at the DJ booth. The thing about PXL is I can play this shit live. Even Jim. Go ahead, Dan. That's my master engineer. Ooh, ooh, he did his thing. Shout out to Dan. And shout out to Oscast, my brothers, again, for letting me remix that last song. I'm wearing pajamas. In case you're curious. Lookbook time. Ncturnm, a very basic prototype muscle shirt, tank top, and camo. Um, who made these? I don't know, yo. Somebody, camo pajama pants. Ova is very minimalistic and it's very back to basics. It was kind of me rediscovering, um, how to make a song with the most bare elements and still communicate a mood. So Ova, yeah, it just kind of takes me back. It takes me back to my early production days, some of my earlier sounds. You know, and Ova means egg. Ova means egg, in case you didn't know. So, in a way, I'm tapping back into my initial sounds with Ova. Essence is the first song on the album, on the PXL. The songs we played thus far have been from FLUX and GEMINI. We just finished the GEMINI era. This is the PXL track. This is the first track. I produced this one in July 2024. I don't know if I've explained it yet. PXL was produced at the end of the relationship, at the very end of the relationship. This album was produced up until the week before the relationship ended. So it's the very, very end. This whole era, Flux, Gemini, and PXL are all about transformation from the start of the end of the relationship to the end of the end of the relationship. And that's where we're at right now. This is the beginning of the end of the end. At this point, we both knew it was over. It was just about when are we going to break up. So this is the chaos of that. It's beautiful, it's chaotic, it's busy, it's rhythmic, it's routine, but it's syncopated too. So not everything is on beat, not everything is just going. Some things are contrasting with one another. Just like at the end of a relationship. You know it's right for you, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel, you're so used to being with this person. Now it's ending. This is what that sounds like. And this isn't sponsored by Bose, unless they want to. You see that relationship was going smooth, and it, what the fuck? Exactly. It's how it goes. It's not beautiful. It's not perfect. It just goes. Just like life. All right now. We in it now. We in this thing now. Why are we stopping? Oh shit. Go ahead, Essence. We got a little glitch at the end. Lighthouse. This is the remastered version of Lighthouse, specific to PXL. As we get into, make sure you grab a snack. I want to let you go down. When I made this song, it's called Lighthouse. It's because I needed saving. Our relationship needed saving. My heart needed saving. My heart needed saving, y'all. My heart needed saving. And my partner couldn't do it for me. I couldn't do it for him either. This is a Gemini track, so we both realized it was over. When by the time I made what is the time stamp of it looks like it looks like I made Lighthouse around June 2023. Two cruises that started well, there were two cruises that started this PXL era. It was on these cruises that I realized that the relationship was coming to an end because I realized that when we went out of the country, we didn't move the same. We didn't enjoy each other's company on vacation. We didn't enjoy being around one another. And I realized that when we went on two cruises, one in 2022, one in 2023, I produced this one shortly before we went on the second cruise. Because by the second cruise, I realized this thing was coming to a close, which is what that is. I know y'all know this one, single too. I did it for the last one. I did it for this one too. Okay, so, I'm about to say, let's not go back to 2020. This goes back to oh my god, I was going to the well, I'm pretty sure I made this in the early 2020s. I'm trying to find the original draw file. Wow, doing me dirty. Well, I made this for the after the success of Moonlight, which I made in, which I released in 2021, 2021. I want to say I wanted to make a follow up to Moonlight, and so that's what this is. Fish is a song that made me feel really confident, and that I made from a place of knowing that my relationship is coming to. This is a PXL song, by the way. I knew that my relationship was coming to an end, and I felt good about it. I felt confident about it. I felt good about myself. I felt like I had found myself in the relationship ending, in deciding that it was going to end. I felt fish. And in the LGBTQIA community, that means feeling feminine, feeling confident, feeling like yourself. The song is also inspired by the Beatles. So, shout out to Beatles. Shout out to their inspiration on me, reflection moving upstream towards the end of my relationship. One of the earliest songs from PXL. This was released back in December 20th, 2024, with my brother Zoel. Shout out to my brother Zoel. Um, so talented, so talented. We collaborated on this, and it was his latest album, one of his latest albums. Let me get the name of that for you right now. I'm talking shit. Wildflower. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm on his Apple Music right now. It was called Passage of Essence. So he released an album in 2024 called Passage of Essence, and Wildflower was originally on that. And then I got a remaster like by my brother Dan Lee. Dan Lee is a mastering engineer for this entire album. That's why I found that. And I better see y'all doing the same when I come to your city in the venue, like with your drink or with your if you don't drink with your alcohol free beverage, like I can actually dance. I'm having this song sounded so alien to me. It's one of the first songs I made for the album as well, along with Fish and I guess no Fish. Fish and this were the first songs made for the album. The last song made for the album we haven't got there yet. We haven't got. I'm having fun. This is fun. I was nervous about how this was gonna go. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. We're having fun. This transit. This transit. So I made this song while I was on the bus. There are a couple songs that I made while I was on the bus with my ex. So I felt like being on the bus was the perfect representation of being a trans. I mean, you're literally a trans. And so I made this while it was transit with my ex. You know, we were on the way home. It was taking fucking forever because when you take the bus, you know, the bus, the first bus passes, you know, or it takes forever, or there's a breakdown. Or, it was one of those kind of days. Just one of them days. Wow. Transit, this was one of the first ones I made the album. Wow. Oh my shit. Y'all, I've been on my shit. From an early point. I don't have a nigga on that shit. I better see y'all go off to the club this one too. I better see y'all in transit. Hey, I better see y'all in the club like Oh, I'm telling you, when I made PXL, I'm like, I'm going through something, but I'm gonna dance. This relationship is ending, but I'm gonna be in a club soon. I'm gonna be bringing people to a club soon. PXL tour, in 2026. I'm gonna be bringing people to a tour soon. I gotta have something to go off in the club. Oh, so this this one, Transit, okay? Oh, I love it. I forgot how much I love this album, though. You ever? Yeah. Hmm. See, I'm on the computer, y'all. So this is a good album. You on the computer? Make pxl.nctrnm.com, by the way. Okay. So yeah, that track was. This is you remastered. I released this song back in 2022. It was a standalone single. This album is lossless on Apple Music, by the way. HQ audio, high quality audio. Baby. This, this, these are the well, Transit and what else did I say? Transit and Wildflower and what else did I say? Uh, York were like the earliest tracks that I made for the album. These are some of this is an early song too. I released this song in its original form in 2022. It was a standalone thing. It had a glitch element, lo-fi hip hop element. My relationship was beginning to crumble. The beginning of the crumble. You know, this could have been on Flux, but it was too early for Flux. It was pre-Flux. So I just saved it and I would remaster it one day. I kind of remastered, just getting its full proper look and just do on streaming platforms and on Bandcamp now. This song was telling me that my relationship was going to end before I even knew it. It has this menace to it. This romance to it. This hopelessness. This lullaby to lull myself into a sense of what we had to be salvaged. Really could. I didn't know that. But I know it. This is the first single. I decided to release this as a single on that Lake Tahoe trip I told you about earlier. Towards the end of our relationship, late spring 2024. May. It's called Atlas. because at that point in our relationship, I felt like I was carrying everything. I felt like being in our relationship was like carrying the weight of the world. I carried his weight, I carried mine. I didn't even know how to do that properly. It's a bop, but it sounds like I'm going to war. With that part. My big cloudy day, that clouds are coming. You're outside it. It's a rainy day, but you still take to work. You're in a toxic relationship, but you're gonna survive. I'm still here. Uh, Skin. I released in 2022. I released standalone singles in 2022. I did not release any projects. But all the songs that I have included in PXL that are from that era that you may be familiar with the title, they've all been remastered. When I released them the first time, they were not mastered. They were unmastered. That's the part secret I haven't ever told anybody. This is the master version. This is the properly mastered version. Shout out to that. The acoustic version. That's it. Uh, hey, uh, hey, I did it this shit. Give me a classic hip hop feel. When I threw that in there, that rim shot snare, it gave me like this fucking like instrumental hip hop vibe. I couldn't resist. Oh, skin. And it also reminded me of what I like to get like a very close to the scalp haircut, almost buzz cutters. When I get my skin cut, my skin I do like my hair sleek and even on all sides. Hello, when I get my hair cut. Not right now though. Now. They didn't get this one. The world didn't really get this one the first time. A lot of the songs that are on here that I brought back around the second time to remaster, the world didn't really fuck with it the way I think they should have. So that's why I'm bringing it back because I believe in these songs. I want them to get their justice. Shout out to Flicker. My distributor tried to tell me that this song wasn't unique enough. Y'all see my face? Do you know that this album was pushed back a week because of my collaboration, because of my 7 a.m. remix, because of my Red Planet track with Soul, because of my Wildfire track with uh, Soul, because of this track? They tried to tell me it wasn't. No, but it's still about. Even my ambient songs have rhythmic pulse to them. So Flicker. One time I Flicker. Flicker, I made. Mm, it's one of the last songs I made for the album. I would have made it. I would have made it at the start of this year. I would have made it at the start of this year, probably over Christmas break. So at the start of this year, at the very start of this year, at the very tail end of last year, after Christmas, I was so depressed. I couldn't really make music very. I stopped making music altogether because I was so depressed about my relationship. So there was just flickers, creativity, flickers of hope, flickers of my old self. I used to make several songs a day. At this point, I was making a song a week, maybe a song a month, because I was just in this environment where I wasn't happy. This is the end of 2024, early 2025. The relationship ended in 2025. Um, this is the we're getting to the very tail end of the relationship now. This isn't the last song. This is the final song for the album. But I had to include it because I felt like it was such a beautiful representation of my mindset. This is the final song that I made for the album. It's not the final song for the album, but this is the last song I made for the album. It's called. At this point of the album, I was coming to a resolve about who I was and that the relationship was to be done. This was made about a week before. This song was made after I had made this choice to break up with my ex. But we weren't yet broken. But it was like 1 week before we broke. So I know I said that this whole process, this whole album has been the lead up to that point. But a lot of it has been my internal reflection on the matter. By this point, there was already external and internal signs of the relationship. I was already starting to, we were already starting to spend less time together. We were already finding excuses not to be around each other. Uh, he already started to step out. So, it was real. It was becoming real. It was really ending. Really, really. And this is really, this is the first single from the album. After the darkness, after the chaos, after the soul searching that this album did, like I said, the beginning it started with chaos and flux, being in flux, being in a state of chaos is what that EP is about, the first 5 songs. Then we start to get into GEMINI, which is about reflection, reflecting on the good times of the relationship, the bad times of the relationship, on if it should end, how it should end, why it should end, reflecting on all those different reasons, who, what, when, where, and why of the relationship, and coming to terms on what was just smoke and mirrors and what was actually happening in that relationship in terms of the abuse, in terms of love, both extremes, and everywhere. Seeing things for what they really were. But it also was a box. Like I said, all these are going to be boxes. Why did my water fall down? I've been looking for this thing. I've been thirsty as a mother. When I finish this, I'm like, oh, I'm really that dude. I didn't come out of that 7 year relationship still knowing who I am, still having my production abilities intact. I knew who I really was. I didn't know who I really was at the start of my 7 year relationship. That started, I was like 21, 22, 20. But I know who I am at 28. PXL is, I'm knowing who I am. Core. This is an experiment. This was made in the first quarter of 2025. I was searching for core. I was searching for stability. I was searching for foundation. Amidst an intense academic semester, trying to produce a new album that covered how I felt at that moment, how angry I felt about, what I was facing at school, with its issues and issues with some of my professors and all that kind of shit. But finding my stride, the latter half of core, figuring out, is about finding my stride. Losing my core, my that core, um, chaotic, busy, but it knows itself. It, it knows what it needs to say. Just like me, at its core, it's together, it's beautiful, it's here, it's there, it's chaotic, it's composed, all at the same time. Experimental and catchy at the same time. It has a good core. Again, one of the latter songs that I produced for the album, for sure. Um, and now we're at the final track, Omni. Shout out to Omni-Trans, y'all. Omni-Trans is where I made this song. I was on a Omni-Trans bus too long. August 2019. This is one of the first songs that I made for the album. Putting it at the end. 2019 was one of the first times I ever wrote an Omni-Trans song. way that buses run. I was inspired by the way that transit kind of emulates the way that we are. We all are between stages in life. I began to see public transit as a metaphor for being in a transitional stage of life or being in a transitional stage of life. 2019, I was at the beginning stage of my relationship. I didn't know that it would come to an end the way that it did. I didn't know that there would be a domestic violence incident where I would have to defend myself and where my charges would be dismissed in the interest of justice 6 months later. I didn't know that I would have a new boyfriend, that I would find new love in the process of putting this album out. I didn't know all that when I made this song. I thought I knew all that there was to know about me at this time. All. I was on the bus thinking that I knew it all when I made this song. How little did I know where this relationship was the next 6 to 7 years, how it would be, that I would be. I couldn't have predicted that I'd be the Nctrnm that I am today, but I am. I couldn't have predicted the love and support that would come when I needed it most. I couldn't have predicted how dark love could be, how foreign itself to itself, and how much two people could truly diverge over the course of a relationship. How normal toxicity can become, to where the only way to defend yourself, seemingly, is physically. I'm so glad to have created that situation. This album is partially a celebration. It's a celebration of knowing who you are now. But when you got into that relationship, you got into that situation with that person that was your ex, you didn't know who you were. You didn't know what your boundaries were. You didn't know what your limits were. But you know now. That's what PXL is all about. Like I said, I started making PXL. Thank you, Bandcamp. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in thus far. I just want to step in and just speak on behalf of myself and saying that this album has been a joy to make. Um, it's been hard to make at times. It has made me look at myself and my decision making, my allegiance to my loved ones, and my approach to relationships. I went into this relationship not. I'm live streaming. Oh, sorry. I went into this relationship not really. Uh, sorry, my that was my dad. Shout out to my dad. I'm in the office right now, so shout out to him. I went into this relationship uh, not really knowing who I was, not really knowing where my boundaries lie, not really knowing, thinking that I knew what I would say no to or what I would say yes to, but um, I really found out who I was over the course of the relationship, not theoretically, not on paper, but in real life. Flux, I didn't, when I made Flux, the first EP that's part of this, if you're looking at this PXL Plus version that's on Bandcamp, you're looking at the full 20 songs. The first 5 songs are Flux. Flux was the EP that I put out in 2023. It's the first part of this era, and it's an open concept EP that covers the chaos of not knowing where what your next step is. When I first was making Flux, I had just started at Cal State Fullerton, and my relationship was at its beginning of its end phase. You know, that me going to college was a stressor on the relationship. Me educating myself and bettering myself was a stressor on the relationship. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that going back to school and bettering myself would be a threat to my ex partner, but it was. Not knowing where that animosity came from, not knowing why I was facing that animosity is what defined Flux. Gemini was defined by reflection. It was defined by, okay, now that you know something's off, and now that you know that your values are not aligned with this person, were they ever aligned? Did this relationship even come from the right place? Does it feel good to be in this relationship? Does it feel good every day? And Gemini kind of showed that no, you know, there was a lot of self criticism and and darkness in Gemini. It was the darkest phase, I feel like, of this era, where PXL still had its, I mean, where Flux still had its energy, and where PXL rediscovered its energy. In the middle, Gemini lost its energy, and it just went into a mode where it can only reflect on what was and how it should be, you know, and what would make it better and what would make it best, and just hoping that it would get to that place and not knowing how to get it there. And then PXL is just realizing who I was, realizing who I became over the course of the relationship, realizing, my new personality traits, my new temperament traits, and appreciating them, loving them, not criticizing them because they were different than who my ex, thought I was when we got together, or they were different than who I presented myself as when we first got together, and I was only 21 years old and they were in their 50s. So I didn't really know who I was, and I couldn't really enter into the relationship with that full consciousness of who I was. But by the end of the relationship, I knew my identity, I knew my boundaries, and um, I wasn't going to let them be crossed. So PXL was the definition of that. It was me signing the end of the relationship in my heart and in my behavior and in my identity. It was me stepping back into my solo self. I feel like I produced music. My earliest album even was made in the early stages of my relationship. So to have that relationship, that 7 year relationship that started when I was, 21 or so in 2018, to have that morph into such a traumatic and dark experience that I'm now making this album celebrating, me finding myself after it ending. It's just been a wild ride. It's just been a wild ride. And this album has just been about redefining myself, rebirth, being reborn out of a traumatic and dark relationship and situation with my soul intact, with my personality intact, with my social support systems intact, and with my new beau intact. Shout out to my new boyfriend, Chalo, by the way. Um, so, with that in mind, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining me. I think I said all there is to be said. There's more to come. Like I said, this era, if I had to break it down, this era is music, it's videos. I'm sorry, it's music, it's video, the film and the visuals, it's merch, it's content, it's the live show, it's my upcoming website release. I don't know if I mentioned the zine yet that's attached to the album. So there's like 7 pieces of content attached to this era. Music is just one part. So we still have the film, we still have the zine, we still have the merch. Okay, we still have the tour, we still have the website, we still have content coming out. So live streams coming up, behind the scenes content coming up. And what else do we have? Uh, I said the live streams. I said the behind the PXL, and just visualizers and stuff like that, promoting or giving previews of each song, which I think I mentioned and I attached to the film. But yeah, we have that coming as well. So plenty to stay tuned for. This era is not going to be ending until the end of spring, when the tour will be ending. Again, the PXL tour will be starting in spring 2026. I'm currently preparing the set list and the live show right now, getting the visuals together. This is the music that's going to be played. The PXL Plus, in its entirety, the 20 tracks, is what's going to be included in the set list, along with live accoutrement. So make sure you check out the 20-song version of PXL, the PXL Plus version, at nctrnm.bandcamp.com/album/PXL, or just go to pxl.nctrnm.com And also, if you just want to stream the album, make sure you stream it at pxl.nctrnm.com. If you want to follow me on social medias, make sure you do so at nctrnm across all socials, and make sure you hit subscribe, hit follow everywhere that you can. I really appreciate it. Um, yes, I also just want to thank my brother Zol for collaborating with me on this album. I want to thank Oxcab, my three brothers, for collaborating with me or allowing me to remix their track 7 a.m. From their recent projects. I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank my brother Dan for mastering this album and help bringing this sound to life. Like I said, this is just the beginning of the era. We have more coming soon. I don't want to. I don't just want to, blow my load all at once, so to speak. Sorry, I didn't know how else to say that. Didn't know how else to say that. So don't want to do all that one, in one go. So I'm gonna end this here. This is plenty to chop up, plenty to edit. So I look forward to doing that. Thank you to everybody who showed up. If I can find your name, I will give you a shout out. We had a lot of people stop in and then dip out, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody who showed up. And with that in mind, make sure you have a good evening. Make sure you stream or purchase PXL at pxl.nctrnm.com. And with that, I'm going to have a great evening. I'm about to step out, maybe take a little, maybe smoke a little joint or something like that, and I'm going to be good. Okay. So y'all be blessed. nctrnm.com, pxl.nctrnm.com. And with that, have a great evening. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for spending this hour with me. I love you, and we'll talk soon. Nocturnal Tribe, I'm out.